The hosts of bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
So we discovered a new monster, Dan. And I would like to share it with you right now.
Did you clip it?
What, in repo?
Yeah.
Dude, you've got to clip this.
I know.
Especially if you took the time to find it. What is it at? 41 minutes and 46 seconds? I'm writing that down. I'm going to go back and clip it.
So, Dan, you just have to, it was just Scott and I playing. So for listeners, if we keep this in, this is a new game called Repo that we've been playing with one of the bracketeers, one of the listeners, and it is fucking hilarious. You're these little robot guys.
We're open to play. Join us.
We are open to play. So I'm just going to play this for you, Dan, because it is fucking hilarious.
And your loudest keyboard.
I just got Scott. Oh, I'm getting. Oh,
it's the TV.
Creepy sounds. That keyboard is so obnoxious. Fucking creepy. Especially in a game where you have to be quiet and hide. But effective. I appreciate it.
So something just happened, right? So I go and I hide.
You can't tell it over the keyboard, but Matt heard a sound that I did not hear.
No, I heard the sound. I saw both of you.
Just keep watching.
Okay, I'm watching. So you're creeping around trying to figure out what happened. Scott, are you dead?
What the
fuck are we looking for?
I'm excited to see your POV. What the fuck is going on?
Wait, Scott, were you being carried?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
So, apparently there is a ghost in the game that is completely invisible. You never see it, at least not in the experience I had. And it sneaks up on you and grabs you and then just runs. It just carries you away. And I found it because it got me like 7 or 8 fucking times in the game that it takes you back to like your extraction point. It just whisks you away. Yeah. But the first time we're just carrying this TV, we set it down off to find the next thing. And next thing I know, my keyboard is non-responsive and I am flying through the map. So
with little sounds like this.
I thought it was glitching. Like I thought my system was fucked up. I thought my game wasn't working. I'm trying to hit Q, crouch, like everything. Nothing's responding. It wasn't until like the third time that it happened that I fucking figured out what was going on. But yeah, so it just carries me by and I see Matt coming in my peripheral and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Just hoping he might have an answer.
Oh my God. It was so funny because the one time was funny enough because I was just like, I don't know what's happening. And then I just see him float across the screen. I was like, what? He's screaming. And then like the third or fourth time, it just continued to happen over and over again. And Scott's like, all right, fuck this. Like we just kept trying to get things to repossess and he just kept getting carried away.
It was honestly the most annoying round. I honestly would have rather it killed me.
It was the funniest thing.
So it didn't hurt you at all? It's just there to fuck with you.
Just fucked with me. Because then every time it happened, I'd have to go like halfway back across the map to get back to Matt. And that would take me, 3 minutes, and I'd get there and be there for 90 seconds to get whisked away again. It was so annoying.
This was also like the third round that we were playing, so we had already like done fairly well, and we were in a pretty good spot, and then we got into this house, and that fucking ghost, it just ended up killing and not actually killing us, but causing us to lose.
You know, that raises a good question. Is there a way to win that game? Like, is there an end game to it? We have just not got even close enough to
I
figuring
don't
that out
think
yet.
we've gotten anywhere close enough to be able
All right.
to actually do that.
I think
Bracket-
the highest level that I've been in that game is to like a level 3 location.
Where you have like the 3 extraction points,
Mhm.
right?
All right, bracketeers, we're going to play up to 6 in this game. We need some help because apparently
Clearly.
we're not very good at it.
We are not great, but it is tremendously fun, especially when Scott just gets whisked away by the ghost of his dreams.
Look, I'm all about getting whisked away on a normal time, but that was just obnoxious. that one had red flags all over it. Hello and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament and bracket style. Say my name and I'll be there. I'm Scott Grubb.
Oh, yeah, brother. I'm Matt Robinson.
What? What? I'm Dan Default.
You honestly looked confused for a second. What?
I confused myself.
If it helps, Scott also said the wrong catchphrase. So
What do you mean?
say his name and he'll appear.
Close enough. This week, we continue through our bracket of Legendariest WWE Champion. We are in the
Sweaty 16.
the Too Sweet 16.
We did land on the 2 sweet.
The Too Sweet 16.
Okay.
Fellas, we got a lot of solid matches to talk about here. How do we want to do it this week? Where do we want to start?
That's a great question, Scott. And in response to that, I would like to tag in my partner Dan.
All right. I say we start with the Golden Age and just work our way down.
All right, we're
I
going
like the Foley work that you did there, though. I appreciate that.
we're
Getting
going
an
back.
actual hand slap.
Little traditional, little one-on-one matches in this one.
All right.
So
I also think this is one of the toughest.
yeah, I mean,
battles.
first matchup that we have is Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Coincidentally, I was filling up my car with gas just yesterday, and it was one of those gas stations that has the TV that plays commercials or whatever while you're filling your gas up, and a Slim Jim commercial came on, and it ended with "Step into a Slim Jim." Oh yeah, you know that Macho Man Randy Savage. And how long has he not been on this earth?
It's been over a decade now, I think, wasn't it?
I think that's right.
Late
Yeah.
2000s or the late aughts.
He passed away in 2011.
Ooh, I was close. That's still that's a hell of a
Yeah.
legacy to leave behind, marketing wise.
And it, again, just goes to show how far he penetrated the world outside of wrestling.
Sure, yeah.
I don't
Probably
know why you had
penetrated
to
a lot
pick
further
that
from
word
that.
choice. That was
Um,
just difficult.
But here's the thing: Ric Flair is 107 years old and just wrestled his last match last year. His last
quote
match,
unquote. Yeah, huh? Quote unquote.
like the man's gonna die in the ring, but he is very much a legend in every possible way. Like
He's an
his
icon.
mic skills are tremendous. Yeah, icon is definitely probably a better description for Ric Flair than legend, even just because everything that he did was great, with one minor exception. He did tend to oversell sometimes.
Yeah, but I think
That
that's
was
kind of part of the appeal.
Yeah, that was part of the shtick, man.
I mean, come on. That's a classic Ric Flair. Look, everyone has their classic moves, right? For a lot of guys, it is offensive moves. Everyone knows John Cena's 5 moves of doom, right? But not everyone is an offensive move. So if you think, like, for example, we're going to say Dean Ambrose because it was in his WWE times. I always hated this move, but you knew in every single match that he was going to get punched or hit or shoved in some way that caused him to fall between the middle and top rope, grab onto it with his arm, pull himself back up, and then clothesline the person that did it to him. Every single match. It's not that like crazy of a maneuver, but he was the first one that did it, and it became a signature thing for him. Ric Flair, you could count at least in not every match. It wasn't that consistent, but like pay-per-view match or something, he was definitely going to get hit, take 4 or 5 very upright steps in like perfect posture, and then fall flat on his face. Yep. And you know what? I appreciated every time he did it.
I mean, it's one of those things I will say. Ric Flair falling on his face literally he did it in a way that just made it very, like, it almost looked painful because he didn't fall on his hands, right? He straight fell. Like, hands to
his
the side.
arms were down beside, like, to his sides.
It had like Three Stooges, Marx Brothers level like selling to it. It was great.
But to me, that is his only like real, and I'm going to say downside, but I don't think it's a downside per se. I'm just saying in terms of like a perfect type of superstar, a perfect type of frontman for your company. He had the mic skills, he had the in-ring talent, he had the longevity, 16-time world champion with a little asterisk because should it be more than that? Who knows? The man was incredible at his craft.
And for so long too.
Yeah.
I mean, he ruled during the what is it, like divisions eras. Mm-hmm. He was a star. Was it NWA, right? I mean, he was like the guy there. And then helped with the launch of WCW. Like, people don't realize that, but WCW really came from NWA. It was a transition, and he was the face of that through the whole thing. He was, I mean, again, he and Sting, was he on the first episode of Nitro? I don't know if he was, but they had the last match of Nitro, the two of them together, because of everything that he did there, and then transitions into WWE. Okay, hold on. That's skimming over his whole style and profile and persona.
Yeah.
I mean,
the 4 Horsemen.
And yes, exactly. I went too fast through the WCW thing. Style and profiling era. You have the 4 Horsemen era. You have another iteration of the 4 Horsemen era still with him in it. All WCW. Then WWE, he carries over the style and profiling again. Then Evolution, like total tonal change. Not total, but I mean, it was he had a hell of an arc his whole career.
I mean, but if you want to talk about like story arcs, like it's hard to not look at Randy Savage and say like that is one of the best story arcs of all time in wrestling, is just everything with Miss Elizabeth, everything with Hulk Hogan. It was, I mean, he became a superstar because of those points, like those parts of his career when he wasn't just another guy, but had his own thing and Macho Man and the frills and the cowboy hat and everything else. That's not even including his NWO stuff. So this is a really, really tough matchup. I think you're right, Dan, but it is, I feel like there's it's out of balance a little bit in my eyes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
When the NWO splintered into the Wolfpack, Macho Man Randy Savage went with the red and black. And they were trying to get Diamond Dallas Page. And Kevin Nash was saying it was an almost unanimous decision or vote. The one person that voted against him was Macho Man Randy Savage. Scott, I know you love your Diamond Dallas Page. How does that make you feel about this?
So wait, Randy Savage voted against the idea of having DDP join?
Yeah, he did not want DDP in the red and black.
I mean, DDP didn't want to join anyway. I think he did eventually, didn't he? Near the end.
Everybody did by the end.
The whole roster was split between one of the two. Or 3, because there was also the LWO. Was there another one?
World Order.
Yeah.
I mean, there was always like infighting and things like that, but it all ends up being the Wolfpack and just the NWO.
I don't think it changes my vote really, because I think I knew where it was. Like, I agree though. Randy Savage's storylines, they were like to me, part of the height to be fair, Hulk Hogan had a long height in his career, but that was definitely part of it. And then the Miss Elizabeth stories are probably some of the most iconic actual storyline to take place. And it helped also build up other guys, like Luger was part of it.
Mhm. I think that's something to be said for Randy Savage, right? Is his ability to help prop people up, because those storylines it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him and Miss Elizabeth, right? But Hulkster, there were so many other people that were a part of his stories that he helped to prop up and take to potentially another level.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm going to say it this way. Has Randy Savage influenced my snacking habits in the last 37 years? Oh, yeah. But he ain't got that Ric Flair drip. I mean, at the end of the day,
We have
Randy
got to stop
Savage
saying that.
Randy Savage is an iconic figure in pro wrestling for sure. But Ric Flair is an icon. Full stop. My vote is Ric Flair.
I think the other thing that Randy Savage has going for him is just the inspiration, right? And I'm not saying that Ric Flair didn't inspire modern day wrestlers. Absolutely, he did. But Randy Savage helped literally inspire characters as well, right? You had Black Machismo in TNA for a while. Even LA Knight a little bit has some of that kind of promo energy that Randy Savage would do. But it's hard to take anything away from the 16-time champion Ric Flair as the legendariest WWE champion. I think my vote would go to Ric Flair as well. Dan?
Woo!
I hear what you guys are saying, and Ric Flair is a legend. Macho Man Randy Savage, though, did cut that promo where he just walked in circles around, who was it, Mean Gene Okerlund, and he was just talking around Mean Gene. It was so funny. But yeah, I got to vote for Ric Flair. I mean, the fact that he did it for as long as he did is incredible.
Randy Savage's energy was something else.
Yeah. Again, I feel like that was one of the toughest matches that we will talk about through this entire debate.
I don't know. I know what Matt's going to do here, and that's fine. So, Dan, this is really going to be a conversation between the two of us. I feel like this one's kind of difficult.
Really?
I do.
Wow.
So, up next, we've got Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan.
Hold on. I want to circle back. Why do you think that this is, or why don't you think Matt will just poo-poo on this match? Is it because
my
Matt
vote's
will
for the
poo-poo on this
Undertaker
match.
because
Yeah.
fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was willing to vote for Yokozuna over Hulk Hogan. He's definitely going to vote for Undertaker over Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Do you see this as an easy one or a difficult one?
I see this as an easier matchup than what we just talked about. I think it's close, but not that close. And again, the reason that I'll say it is that, I mean, Hulk Hogan was huge in the 80s. And then he came to WCW. He had that falling out with Vince McMahon. And when he went to the WCW, he made one of the greatest heel turns in wrestling history. That
Some might say the greatest heel turn until recent times.
Who would you say recent? Oh,
yeah.
That one's not that exciting. It does
Just
not.
unexpected.
No, hold on. John Cena's heel turn that we just witnessed is nowhere near the same level as the Hulk Hogan heel turn.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of just unexpectedness,
it wasn't unexpected. Of course, they would give him the ability to do at least a small heel run right before he retires. I'm not surprised by it at all. It makes total sense.
So
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Hulk Hogan was propped up during the 80s and 90s as like this all-American, like, the
true American.
Yeah, the personification of what, you wanted to be. And then he has this incredible heel turn. And it kind of elevated the WCW above its rival WWF at the time, and that was a big deal. But he was also solely responsible, well, not solely responsible, but he had a big part to play in the shit show that WCW turned into, because he had full creative control over his character and did not want to give the title to Booker T. That's just kind of shitty. And, I think for the good that he did wrestling, he also did not an equal amount, but, a fair amount of bad for wrestling. And that's not even taking into account his out of the ring stuff that he did. Undertaker was a phenom for decades. He didn't have the peaks and valleys.
I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
So he was consistent, 21 and 22 and 0, and what was
WrestleMania.
WrestleManias. He was a consistent powerhouse in wrestling, where I feel like Hulk Hogan was huge in the WWE. He had that falling out with Vince McMahon. He went into and did some terrible movies, including like Sugar Lips in one of the Rocky movies. Then he went to WCW. He had a meteoric rise, and then it went all back to poo-poo. He was still had that fight with Vince McMahon. Then he did some racist shit. I just think that Undertaker has way less baggage, but just as much impact.
All right. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You're done. Because you're talking about Hulkamania.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about probably, like, you're talking about the person who, if ever there was somebody you could say was a household name coming out of pro wrestling, it was fucking Hulk Hogan. I mean, the closest you get now is The Rock. And I mean, he might be there at this point, but it was, I mean, Hulkamania running wild. He was everywhere in the 80s. And that was already 10 to 12 years into his career. He started in the 70s. You're talking about him being huge in the 80s. Yeah, sure. He was, because he was absolutely massive. Every fucking elementary school in the country had at least a dozen Hulkamania lunchboxes in it. And that, I mean, there you're talking about like his NWA years and New Japan years and all the growth that he had there and the international recognition. He's huge in America. He's huge in Europe. He's huge in Japan. I mean, his WWF time frame in the 80s to early 90s alone is, I mean, $1 billion industry. Then you put him in WCW and he is again, continuing the face of all faces. He's on your Wheaties. He's telling you to brush your teeth. He is the backbone of what Ted Turner expects his success to come from. And damn if it doesn't, because you're right. He then has, he is Americana personified. And then all of a sudden the outsiders come in and he heel turns is the most unexpected heel turn of all times. And then it turns into what is known as the Monday Night Wars, where for 83 weeks in a row, WCW beats WWF, WWE, whatever, in its ratings. That is built on the back of the story that Hulk Hogan had. And he had creative control from the beginning of that. Now, did he eventually make some poor decisions with it and use it politically and all that? Absolutely he did. But you're still talking about fucking Hulkamania. Again, this is coming from somebody who had a bucket list item marked off because I got to see The Undertaker make a WrestleMania entrance. Like the 2021 and 1, certainly. But you're talking about a once in a year event that he's known for having a great legacy at. especially in the last 2 to 3 years when he didn't do anything else leading up to it. He would just show up at WrestleMania, do that match, and leave. His career is not as long. It's not as illustrious. He was performing in a time when there were other personalities that he worked directly with that outshone him. Stone Cold came from this time frame and his time frame was bigger. The Rock came from his time frame and was bigger. There was no one that Hulk Hogan ever went up against that was bigger, ever. Period. Even all the way up to WrestleMania when he faced The Rock, Hulk Hogan is still a bigger name than The Rock was at that time. He never in the span of his career went up against somebody bigger than he was from draw and from popularity and familiarity. Man, I get it. The outside of the ring stuff is, I mean, there's a reason why he got the reception that he did this year and the reason why The Undertaker got the reception that he did. And here's the thing. They're both on the same side of that game, right?
But
the only difference is everyone equated it to that, right? Everyone said that it was a political thing. It's not just a political thing. It's the fact that he's also a racist piece of shit. And that's the part that really didn't get talked about in the conversation. But if it was just a political thing, people would have booed The Undertaker as well, because he was just in a video with Dumpf a few days before WrestleMania came out or was on the air. So I get it. I understand that, but that's not a factor in this. That's Terry Bollea. That's not Hulk Hogan.
I disagree. I disagree. And I know I hear what you're saying. I disagree that I think The Rock, it was a bigger name when he faced Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania.
I agree. I would say Stone Cold was a bigger name even before that.
I mean, I think Stone Cold is a little bit more niche, but I think bigger star. Yes. Now, the other thing that I disagree with you on there, I mean, I've already thrown my vote out there. However, is the big difference between these two, other than the fact that Hulk Hogan has outside bullshit that ruined him as an individual, as a person. But the difference is that Hulk then tried to take a lot of that and then use his platform as a professional wrestling legend to kind of shill a lot of that anyway. Whereas, like you said, The Undertaker has had videos. He has been very public about his political leanings. However, he's not using his position as The Undertaker to shill those things. They are two separate. One is Mark Calloway and one is The Undertaker. When The Undertaker came on, he didn't wear a shirt saying "Real American Beer" on national TV in the premiere on Netflix for Raw. Like, in my opinion, Hulk Hogan has tarnished his legacy as one of the greatest champions with all of that outside stuff.
I agree. And it's not even like that outside the ring stuff, but also, again, what he did and who he fucked over in WCW because he had that complete creative control. He did not want to let Booker T, who was even at that point, far bigger draw, because again, he had turned heel and then had like doubled down on the hill when NWO split into the Wolfpack. But we're thinking about this a lot in like legacy and what he did, and he did have a meteoric rise, but I want you to think about his matches inside the ring. And I want you to compare those, any of Hulk Hogan's matches, right? I don't care if it's against the Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, all the way up to his match against The Rock. And tell me they are anywhere close to as entertaining as The Undertaker's matches have been. Hulk Hogan, especially in those NWO days and moving forward, was stiff and old and lumbering. And his finisher, a leg drop. Come on, dude.
I mean, The Undertaker helped to invent matches, right? Hell in a Cell, the casket matches, like he was a big part to that. And I hear what you're saying, but for 20 years, like those last couple years at WrestleMania, sure, maybe The Undertaker was really mostly a part-timer, if you can even call it that. But for 20 years, he was there every single show. Like, he was constantly on SmackDown, on Raw, constantly there. Like, it was a consistency that existed for 20 years.
Great, Hulk Hogan did it for 40.
Yeah, but at a much lower, like, Hulk Hogan did not have the kind of matches that The Undertaker had.
Look, I don't think anyone is going to argue that Hulk Hogan was the most athletic or most graceful in the ring. But I think at that point, I'm going to have to take a page out of Vince McMahon's book and say, here, we're calling this sports entertainment. And he was the greatest sports entertainer.
No, he was a great entertainer. He was not that great at the sports side of it.
Do you want to go today to Hulk Hogan and look him in the face and tell him that he was not a good sports entertainer because he did not bring the athleticism? Do you want to say that to Hulk Hogan's face?
That's
today?
Not what I would say to his face.
Yeah, I bet it wouldn't
bad. No, I get it. And when you're talking about legendary superstar, it's impossible not to have the conversation of Hulk Hogan because he was such a gravitational force towards that form of entertainment. All I'm saying is that he also had as a lot of negative impact on that form of entertainment. From, again, the creative control, his heavy-handed approach that helped the demise of WCW, and all of the outside stuff.
Matt's getting bored with this conversation.
I'm not getting bored, but I do want to throw out. So I looked up that while it may be somewhat some people may not agree with him. Dave Meltzer is one of the longest running professional wrestling journalists that is out there. And he has his own rating.
Hates Hulk Hogan.
He also has a rating system. So I looked up Dave Meltzer's ratings for Hulk Hogan and for Undertaker matches. Hulk Hogan does not have any 5-star matches. 5-star matches are incredibly rare for Dave Meltzer. The Undertaker does have a 5-star match. First Hell in a Cell. No, it was the first Hell in a Cell against Shawn Michaels, the debut of Kane. The closest that Hulk Hogan got is a 4.25 star match. It was Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair at Halloween Havoc in 1994. Like I think going back to Dan's point, I think we have our answers, but I do think The Undertaker is a better professional wrestler. And I think that, say what you want, like longevity of it, there's something to be said about the old guy giving up the torch and passing it to the next guy. Hulk Hogan refused to do that. Yeah. Undertaker was very much helping to uplift, and still to this day in the company, uplifting people to become the next superstars.
And you're acting like The Undertaker didn't have that long of a career. I mean, he started, in the early 80s?
It was...
late 80s.
Yes, he was Mark Calloway in WCW in the early 80s, Undertaker in the late 80s in WWE. That's really where his career took off.
I mean, if Scott's going to bring up Hulk Hogan's stuff in the 70s, we can bring up, The Undertaker's start in WCW in the early 80s.
What was his actual name? Oh, sorry, continue.
All I'm saying is that Undertaker went for decades himself.
That's less than 5.
So on that note, we have 2 votes for The Undertaker and 1 vote for Hulk Hogan. Is that right?
No, my vote's for The Undertaker. Fuck that racist piece of shit.
Oh, you're saying that now. That's some quick backpedaling happening here.
No, I get it, Scott. We had to talk about the impact that Hulk Hogan has had. But we also had to talk about the negative impact that Hulk Hogan's had.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
So The Undertaker, when he debuted in WCW, debuted in 1984, and it was WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, under the ring name Texas Red.
Because of his red hair.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, fun fact, he's a ginger.
He is. He dyed his hair for 70 years. I don't know how old he is. All right, are we going west or are we going south?
I thought he said work our way down.
All right, let's go south. Bronzer Age, starting with Edge, versus Y2J Chris Jericho.
The Lionheart, Chris Jericho.
El Champion, Chris Jericho. See if you can get another one. The Ocho, Chris Jericho.
No, you can't take on the, what is it? The Tree of Wisdom, Chris
The Tree of
Jericho?
Wisdom is one of them.
Yes, I got it.
Or I think it's actually the Tree of Knowledge, but I'll give it to you.
All right.
Anyway, Edge versus Jericho. I think this is a pretty good matchup as well.
They're very similar.
In what way?
And I just think that they look and move very similarly, especially in Jericho's early years.
They are both blonde.
He doesn't move the way he used to, that's for
He
sure.
does not
Yeah.
move the way he used to. I mean, so neither does Edge. However, let's
fair.
just talk about for a moment the greatest comeback in WWE history in Edge returning from a career-ending neck injury after a decade to continue his career. Like, that's amazing. And that, I mean, we talked about it, I think, in the first episode, Scott, but the pop that Edge got when he came out at Royal Rumble after being injured and gone for years was fucking magical.
If there's any one moment in pro wrestling history I could like go back and be at, it would be that.
Dude,
That return.
Would
That
you
song.
put that above Shawn Michaels' return?
Yes. Yeah. Because
Really?
because Shawn Michaels was
Shawn
was
Michaels
built
was
up.
Career-ending back injury?
But it was built up, his return. There wasn't it wasn't such a surprise. Like for Edge, it was legitimately nobody expected it. Not even the commentators. Like, and they weren't in the know when he was coming out. It was a surprise to Michael Cole, to Pat McAfee. Everybody was absolutely, I don't even know.
The only
what a
people
good
that
word
knew
is.
he was coming back was him, his wife, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan, and that was it. They did not tell anyone else. They had him hidden for the whole day, and then he walked into Gorilla, the backstage area right before you come out, like shrouded, took it off. People standing there were like, "Holy shit!" His music hit, and he walked out. Journalists didn't know. There were no rumors. There were no dirt sheets. There was no guessing that he was coming back.
In modern day wrestling, that is unheard of.
Absolutely
unheard of. And by modern day, I mean since the internet really took over, like for the last 25 plus years, it is wild. Now, I will say on that note, one of my favorite returns to WWE was Chris Jericho coming back and then just not saying anything for like 10 minutes. Do you remember this at all, Scott?
Kind of.
It was after, I think it was after his first run, and he went international. He did some New Japan stuff, and then he made a return as Codebreaker. So it was his Codebreaker gimmick. Came down to the ring, grabbed the mic, was going to talk, but the fans just were so loud that he just like stood there, and then he rolled out of the ring, did a little lap, got back in the ring, went to talk again. The crowd was still going wild. Did it like 3 or 4 times, and then just left. It was wonderful.
They took over his whole promo.
It was
and he
amazing.
fed right into it.
And speaking of promos, I mean, Chris Jericho is the promo king. Like, he has always been just so good at coming up with something. The downside, I think, for Jericho is what we kind of talked about in the first episode, which is as soon as they started writing any kind of scripts for him, it just was lost completely.
I feel like Edge and Jericho honestly could be Jericho. I don't know. Edge could never carry the promo necessarily just by himself. His best promo work was during tag team eras with Christian.
Get your cameras ready.
When he went solo, he kind of lost some of those gimmicks, and he just didn't deliver as well. Jericho, though, has had so many different gimmicks and characters and storylines thrown at him. And I mean, you can't say he's made everyone stick because some of them have been pretty rough, but the things that he's turned into gimmicks, like You're on the List or
a bottle of bubbly, to then have a mimosa match with somebody. Sorry, that's AEW. I realize that's outside of WWE, but
I'm still part of the career.
And it worked.
Or the Kevin Owens best friend thing. I mean, just he's made so many golden moments like that. And then the wordplay, oh my gosh, some of the promos he used to cut against Stephanie McMahon specifically, and some of the things he would say about her to her face, the boss's daughter to her, and I mean, they were great. He was untouchable on the microphone. And exciting matches too. I mean, considered a cruiserweight in the early days, he was great.
They both had great matches.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. So Rated R Edge with Lita, that was interesting, but I think it was most interesting when Matt Hardy got fired and then came back and got rehired. So that was almost, to your point, like he was propped up by somebody else. Something personal, something real that turned into something much larger. Whereas Chris Jericho is the consummate professional. Like he's amazing at what he does. I want to give more credit to Edge, but I think I do have to go with Chris Jericho for my vote, simply because his ability, not just in the ring, his ability in the ring, especially early on in his career, was unmatched, right? Just in terms of like hybrid mixing some of the high flying with some of the technical wrestling, with submission holds, with, just a lot of the traditional things. But then you add his mic skills and his promo work are tremendous. He was the first undisputed champion in WWE. Like that was a huge thing when they combined the WWE championship and the World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. Like that was huge. He could easily go back and forth between being a face to being a heel to being a face to being a heel. Edge had his best work as a heel, and just stuck at that. Yeah, I think I got to go Chris Jericho on this one.
Dan,
do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to say it because, Matt, I feel like you're a big Edge fan. You love the edging, but I didn't think that this was all that close. I thought Chris Jericho wins this by a pretty sizable margin.
I mean, I am a fan of being on the edge, but it is the thing is Edge is a higher seed because he has more championships. He has more world titles than Chris Jericho, at least within WWE, World Heavyweight, etc., NWA. Yeah. Chris Jericho, though, has just a storied career that sometimes you just gotta go over the edge and just let it come out.
I hate everything about this. But except for the part where you voted for Chris Jericho, because that makes sense to me.
Edge.
Release.
All right, what's our last matchup for today's episode?
Our last matchup is Kurt Angle versus the Electric One, The Rock.
I think I've heard him called the Electric One at one point.
I hate to say it, but it feels like this is a quick one.
I disagree.
I kind of agree.
Oh,
Scott.
fuck both of you. I think that you are both wrong here.
Matt, if they both went into the Hall of Fame the same year, which one is going to headline and which one's going to be secondary?
I think that they would co-headline. I legitimately think that they are both that big. They are both that important to the wrestling industry and to WWE history.
No, they wouldn't put them in the Hall of Fame at the same time, period. Because of that, because they are close. I'll give you that. They're close enough. They're on an echelon where they are both considered Hall of Fame headliners. However, if they both were to go in the same year, they would not co-headline.
I disagree with that, man. Kurt Angle has so much more about him. Again, I'll go back to things that I've talked about before. The Rock eventually becomes a part-timer, right? The Rock eventually goes to Hollywood. He eventually makes his way back over and over and over again. Kurt Angle was there until they made him go away. And then what does he do? He goes and helps TNA become a legitimate competitor. And then what does he do? He comes back to WWE. Kurt Angle he can carry an entire storyline with him. In addition to his comedic effects, in addition to his in-ring ability, he was pretty good on the microphone. I'm not going to say he was at the level of The Rock on the microphone, but he is pretty good compared to a lot of the other folks that were wrestling at the time that he was. And again, you get somebody who becomes the best heel possible So much so that a chant that is "you suck" over and over again becomes a positive, right? Because that's how much he connected with the fans. Is The Rock electrifying? He was, and then he went to Hollywood. I don't give a shit.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm
Why are
tired
you-
of seeing The Rock in the ring. I'm tired of seeing The Rock have anything to do with it. I'm tired of seeing him in movies. You know what, The Rock? Fuck you. Okay? Please don't hurt me. But I do think that Kurt Angle is I think this is a much closer match than either of you are allowing yourselves to see it as.
I get, you can hate him all you want, but I tell you what, when he steps in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania and says, "At last, The Rock has come back."
You were fucking
He can
up
say that
all of the
because he did
taglines.
leave. He did leave, and he did go to Hollywood, and he became a household name. And he did not leave pro wrestling behind. And when he comes back, it is still electrifying. I can tell you, I was there. I was at the Denver show when he came back before he started the most recent storyline against Cody Rhodes. That moment was electrifying because it was not expected. But when that music hit, goosebumps. I mean, the place went nuts. You don't get that reaction. Kurt Angle will never get that reaction to that level.
And that's I'm gonna expand on that point. Kurt Angle had great matches and great storylines, but I always felt like Kurt Angle needed the opposition. Like he had to be the heel against the big star in order for that storyline to carry. He wasn't the main draw of a story arc. The Rock was the main draw. If you think about, like, after he got over Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was the guy. He was the measuring stick that everybody measured up against, especially during that time. And yes, he did go to Hollywood, but why fault him because he's talented enough to do stuff outside of the ring when Kurt Angle clearly isn't?
First of all, that was a low blow in a lot of ways to Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle had won 2 gold medals with a broken freaking neck. Not just that, but then became a professional wrestler, had some issues with substance abuse and things along those lines, but was able to overcome that, have a family, go through a lot of the shit and feeling depressed. And like he was friends with Eddie Guerrero, right? He was friends with Chris Benoit. Like he had to go through a lot of that and all of the crazy that happened there and help to deal with it and get over it. And I think that, again, I don't think you're giving enough credit to him because yes, he has to have somebody else in the storyline, but who else do you trust to put up with Steve Austin, to put up against Triple H, to work with The Rock?
The Rock.
To work with them, right? Like, because The Rock will do this thing, and this is something in professional wrestling that is incredibly important. The Rock will do something, right? The Rock comes out, it becomes his thing. It becomes him, right? It's just about him. What Kurt Angle does is he allows it to be about him, but also to elevate the other person that's in the ring. That's something that he did with Brock Lesnar when Brock Lesnar first came into the WWE. That's something that he did with Eddie Guerrero. That's something that he did with all of these different wrestlers, was not just prop himself up, but to help others get up to a higher level. Eddie Guerrero's championship wouldn't have been as impactful if Kurt Angle wasn't in the path.
The Rock brought the entire WWE up. Period. I mean,
and stood at the top and just looked down at everybody. I'm just saying.
He gave them opportunities with the creation of SmackDown.
He let
show created
he let
based
them
on his...
hold him up. You're right. He let them hold him on a pedestal.
Man,
This is as bad as your asparagus take, bro.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah,
it's I get it, man. Eat the rich. But you're going a little extreme with it on this one. Because look,
the fact that both of you came in here with zero room for movement on this matchup is what's bothering me.
To be clear, I did say that Kurt Angle is a Hall of Fame headliner.
Yeah, I'm not trying to.
I'm not taking that away from him. but he is not at the level of The Rock. Did he help raise the other people that he was in the ring with? Sure. The Rock made WWE more popular during his time frame than, I'm going to say, anyone else. Stone Cold, you could put up the argument, but Kurt Angle did not move that needle like The Rock did.
We can agree to disagree.
Okay, hold on now. How many Kurt Angle t-shirts, every Kurt Angle TV shirt ever made, would you say you would see in a crowd versus just the black t-shirt with the white Brahma bull on it?
3.
I mean, just think merch sales alone. It's not even close.
It's not all about money, Scott.
But that is
When
that's a verifiable metric. Like, that is something you can't, like,
And sometimes you got to take intangibles into account. The intangibles.
Great. The single greatest person to ever touch a WWE microphone was sure as shit not Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was.
The most electrifying man in sports entertainment history, sure as shit ain't Kurt Angle. My vote's for The Rock.
Yeah, my vote is also for The Rock, and it is very evident as to why. Sorry, Matt.
Well, The Rock moves on in protest because 2 people are unwilling to look at changing their mind.
No, it's because we smell
Hey,
what The
look.
Rock is cooking, brother.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean,
Just because you're drinking The Rock's Kool-Aid doesn't mean...
Look, how many catchphrases does Kurt Angle have?
Many.
none. The crowd has a catchphrase.
Yeah.
He just borrowed it for his
I've said it
entrance.
numerous times.
You suck.
No. He won 2 Olympic gold medals with a broken freaking neck over and
Okay.
over again.
All
You
right,
want
so
catchphrases? I'll give you catchphrases.
one, kinda.
That's true.
Again-
That's damn true. What else do you want?
But again, putting that against The Rock, like, come on, bro.
Oh, man.
I gave you my truth. It's not my fault you won't let me live in it.
If the competition was closer, I'd be willing to listen to you, but it's just
Correct.
not that close.
It
Well,
is
we might as well
correct.
just say The Rock wins then.
Oh my God, this is like
No, we could
Lori
go back and
Myers
say
all over again.
we could go back and say if this is how you were going to be about Hulk Hogan, there was no point in putting him on the bracket to begin with.
I said that to begin with, and you wanted to have him on the bracket.
We
This is
had to
ridiculous.
have that conversation, man. He had a huge impact on wrestling. You know who he had a bigger impact on wrestling than? Kurt Angle.
Disagree.
Oh
Disagree.
man.
Well, next week we will be talking
knew.
about the Attitude Age and the Modern Age to figure out who will eventually lose to The Rock.
We knew that this bracket was going to have some heated arguments. I cannot believe
I
he's
didn't know
going
it was
all
this
fucking I can't believe he's going all Stranger Things on us again.
Yeah, I thought
I
For
lost this
sure.
matchup, so clearly this person's just going to win it all.
I thought for sure that Edge was going to be the hill that he cried on. I did not have Kurt Angle as that hill. Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, next week. Attitude Age Modern. We'll see how we can piss Matt off next week. Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Let's see. What do we got to do? We got to thank Aaron O'Donnell from Aaron O'Donnell Music for the music that you hear at the beginning and end of episodes. You can see him on Aaron O'Donnell on YouTube. There we go. Covered our bases in case he ever listens.
Hi, Aaron.
What else? Yeah. More importantly than that, we got to thank all of our listeners who enjoy hearing Dan and I continue to poke the bear while Matt grinds his teeth in anger. We thank you for engaging with us in the social medias, Facebook and TikTok and whatever ones exist these days. We're in Signal group chats.
No, we're not. We're not. We aren't. Nope.
I can't-
Dan doesn't even know what Signal is.
I didn't know what Signal was until a few days ago.
I can guarantee you that you will not get any military top secret or secret information from our Discord that you can totally join.
Yeah. Yeah. What else we got? Is that everything?
I ordered some O-rings for my keyboard because you two keep making fun of how loud it is. That's
Dude,
what they're
we're
called, is
literally playing-
O-rings.
We're literally playing a game where the objective is to hide, and all we hear is
It's click, clack, click, clack, click, clack.
Look,
We're
I
like,
don't have just
the
a setting.
monsters. If we can
I-
hear it, the monsters can also hear
I
it.
ordered some hopefully some noise dampeners for my keys. We'll see. They're gonna be here
Well,
tomorrow.
we also want to thank Matt for doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
Matt for fixing his O-rings.
All right. Well, join us again next week while we continue figuring out the legendariest WWE champion. Once again, say my name and I'll appear.
There you
Scott.
go.
I'm Scott.
Oh yeah, brother. I'm Matt.
What? I'm Dan.
Bye.